Today, we're going to open a window into the past, into a personal memoir from 1867. It was written by a woman named Abigail Seaver for her grandchildren, and it's this incredibly rare, intimate look at a life lived through some serious hardship and hope. You'll see it's a story that feels surprisingly and powerfully relevant today. So let's just dive right in with Abigail's own words. This is how she opens her memoir, and it just immediately sets the tone, doesn't it? This isn't a story about being famous or rich. It's about something way more personal, a life that was hers, and one she felt was worth remembering. Her story really makes you wonder, what can a life from nearly 200 years ago actually teach us about survival, about love, and about just finding the strength to keep going? As we follow Abigail's journey, I think you'll see how her experiences are in so many ways absolutely timeless. Okay, so to get our bearings, let's look at a quick roadmap of her life. She was born right as George Washington was leaving office. Just think about that. She lived through so much change. And you can see right here, her 70 years were marked by both profound love and just devastating loss. So let's start right at the beginning. Abigail Gates was born into a world pretty different from ours, a world defined by family, hard work, and the rhythms of rural life in Massachusetts. 15. Yeah, you heard that right. That's how many siblings Abigail grew up with. Can you even imagine? She said her childhood home had a constant hum of activity. You can bet it was there she learned responsibility from a super young age, helping her mom manage the house and look after all the little ones. So at 20, she set off on what she thought would be a pretty happy and predictable life path. She married Benjamin Seaver, a man she described as good, steady, and hardworking. And in her own words, she was just filled with hope for our future together. And that future? Well, it took shape pretty quickly. Over the next 8 years, their house filled up with 4 young kids. Abigail really believed they would grow old together, watching their family grow for decades to come. But as she wrote in her memoir, God had other plans. The life she had so carefully and lovingly built was about to be completely shattered in an instant. His death was just completely out of the blue. Her youngest son, who was also named Benjamin, was only 3 months old. In a single moment, her entire world was just turned completely upside down. The grief must have been overwhelming, but as she put it, she had no luxury to surrender to it. She had 4 little kids looking to her for everything. She knew she couldn't fail them. Survival wasn't a choice, it was her only option. And this just puts her impossible situation into stark relief. After all her husband's debts were paid off, this is what she had left: $29, to raise 4 children in 1825. Being poor wasn't just a fear, it was her day-to-day reality. For 7 long years, she did whatever it took. She washed clothes, she mended things for people, she nursed sick neighbors, and she had to swallow her pride to accept help from family. These were, without a doubt, her most desperate times. But they were also the years that forged her belief in resilience, where she discovered a strength she never, ever knew she had. All right, so after 7 years of that relentless struggle, Abigail's story finally takes a turn. This is a new chapter, and it's not just about getting back to stability, it's about finding a whole new kind of happiness. She married Isaac Seaver, who was actually her first husband's brother. Now, she mentions that some people whispered about it, but Isaac had been this constant, quiet source of support for her. Their marriage was really built on respect, on shared hardship, and just a deep gratitude for a second chance. And the beautiful thing is, Isaac completely embraced her 4 children, treating them like they were his own. Then they had 2 more sons together, and this new blended family of 8 created a home that was, in her words, full again, not just with people, but with hope. But even with this new life and this new happiness, the world was not quite done testing her. Her later years really became a profound lesson in how life's greatest joys are so often tangled up with its deepest sorrows. And then came a loss that was just unbearable. In 1836, her son Benjamin died when he was only 11 years old. Abigail wrote that the grief was a physical weight on my chest, a kind of pain that time just never fully heals. And this really was the central tension of her life. You have on one side this deep, enduring grief, and on the other, the immense joy of watching her surviving children grow up, get married, and give her grandchildren, who she called her continuing legacy.
So, as she was nearing the end of her life, feeling the weight of her final illness, Abigail took everything she had learned and distilled it into 4 powerful lessons. Wisdom she desperately wanted to pass down through the generations.
Her first lesson? It was forged in fire. In those 7 years of poverty as a young widow. It's this powerful testament to the hidden strength we all have inside of us. Strength we only find when we're tested way beyond what we think we can handle. Her second lesson really gets to the heart of what sustains us. Look, after being left with only $29, she knew better than anyone that while money can make life easier, it isn't what gives life meaning. For her, love was the only currency that really mattered. Now, this third lesson, it's just this fierce declaration. It came from watching her own mother raise 15 kids and from her own fight to hold her family together. For a woman of her time to say this so bluntly, it's just incredible. And finally, she wrote about faith. And it wasn't some kind of perfect, never questioned faith. She was honest. She admitted to being angry with God. But ultimately, it was the anchor that kept her from drifting away into bitterness and despair. This is the simple inscription on her gravestone. It doesn't even begin to capture the scale of her struggles or the depth of her strength. But her memoir, that does. It leaves us with the story of a life that, while it wasn't famous, was a quiet, powerful epic of resilience, of love, and of the incredible endurance of the human spirit.